All right, everyone. It's Mitch Goldberg here. Be the boss of your money. Welcome to the live stream. Couple things to go over. Finally, the stock market has a fairly decent day. Not a huge up day. I know, over 300 points on the Dow sounds like a lot, but percentage-wise, it's been an okay day. It's an okay week. It helps. We'll take a look at a couple of things, but I want to talk about this. It's kind of funny. Let me see. Did I just lose LinkedIn? Um, it looks like we are streaming to LinkedIn. Well, I hope we are. If not, that's life in the big leagues. Okay, I think we're back on with LinkedIn. By the way, if you have any questions about what we're talking about today or something financial related in general, stock market, and borrowing, spending, whatever, personal finance, you let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. It's the best part about doing this. I love hearing from you. And if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up or a heart reaction or a celebration or a wow, depending on which platform you're watching on. It helps spread the word of the good work we're doing here. It'll help your connections also get a glimpse into the show. Okay, so a couple things to look at. First of all, the market's up today, in particular on, they say, optimism. Market pundits, some say the stock market's up on optimism over the ARM deal. That is an IPO today for a company called ARM Holdings that makes semiconductor chips. These are the things that make things work like smartphones. And 99% of all smartphones in the world are running in one way or another on ARM's technology. So they say this IPO gives the market a huge boost. I disagree. I'm not saying it doesn't help, but to use this as a reason to say, oh, the ARM deal went up over about 20% after its IPO price, I don't buy it. You see, ARM is probably one of the best companies to ever go public. It's not an early stage speculative company. So when it went public today, it doesn't mean that it's a speculative company or losing money. It doesn't mean that investors suddenly have an appetite for high risk speculative money losing companies. This was already a world class great company. So the fact that it went up a little bit in aftermarket trading was, I think, a good job by the underwriters of the IPO to give it a little bit of room to rise after it went public. Only a small percentage of ARM's shares were made public today, so it's kind of hard to get unless it's just a small amount of shares with a lot of demand, because the company only issued a small amount of shares to be publicly traded. So I don't look at this as a special sign that Wall Street's back and speculative juices are flowing. I just look at that deal as a separate thing, sidebar conversation, which tells you that there's always room. It tells you that there's always room for a good company to be listed on one of the major U.S. exchanges. That's all it tells you. This is a really good company to begin with. All right. So having said that, let's just roll a quick intro. I'll talk to you about a few other things. We'll go over the market and let's see what else we're going to do. That's about it. So we'll be back in a minute and we're going to wrap up quick because yours truly has an ACLD event to be at soon. And I want to dress into something, put on something a little bit more comfortable. Here we go. All right, we're back. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm just trying to make one of my screens a little bigger. And I'm going to pop this guy over here. And we'll do a screen and a screen. Okay. All right, here I am. So the day's action went like this. Okay. Just to show you that it wasn't totally like a speculative, wild, crazy day for techs or companies that trade on high valuations or companies that just trade on future earnings expectations. I mean, all companies trade on future earnings. All companies trade on future earnings expectations to some degree. But companies that are expected to show high earnings growth or higher than the market's earnings growth typically will trade at a higher valuation. And when interest rates are lower, those types of companies typically trade higher. So we'll take a look. But the Dow is up 300 some odd points, but up 0.96%. NASDAQ was up 0.8%. And S&P was about the same. So usually the NASDAQ in an update would go up the most, followed by the S&P, then followed by the Dow. But the Dow went up today. So that to me is not an indication that speculative stocks took off. It's an indication that established names and different kinds of names like Goldman Sachs, Walgreens, Caterpillar, Dow, and Amgen, and JP Morgan, and Travelers went up because people bought higher quality companies, old name companies, blue chips, as opposed to buying the speculative NASDAQ names. And we'll take a look at the markets, but the 10-year yield, 4.29%. The VIX is back down to the 12s. Right now, if you follow the VIX, I follow the VIX, it does not appear that investors have really hit a freak out moment where people are really, really frightened about the market, not the professionals. Now, we talk about this every day. Are we going into a bear market, bull market? I just want to make this a little smaller because it'll help me find the bond market. Let's take a look at the bond market, and I'll make this a little bigger now. All right. The 2-year is still above 5%, but the market did go up a little bit today. So not a perfect indicator what we spoke about yesterday or 2 days ago, excuse me. But let's get back to this. So I don't buy it that the whole market went up because people just got excited about tech stocks. But whatever, we had a little bit of relief today. The producer price index, that's the inflation figures that producers, that businesses pay, actually it didn't go down, but it wasn't up much either. And it was more or less it was in line to maybe a little bit tamer than expectations. It helps smooth worries from yesterday when the consumer price index was up a little bit more than expectations. Retail sales came out a little bit better, slightly better than expected. So it helps us say that the economy is still moving along. Interest rates should stick around here, maybe not go too much higher. Very low odds of a Fed rate hike, which is next week on the Wednesday, the 20th. So, and it's just that back and forth movement of, are we raising rates, not raising rates, recession, not recession? Eventually, we will break out of what seems to be like a pretty tight trading range. And my sense is you want to be in it to win it. So let's focus on the long term. Lastly, I hear this every year, so I'll just say it now. Sell Rosh Hashana, buy Yom Kippur. It's a cute phrase. It's, Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur are the high holidays for Judaism. And Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. I know I'm having family over my house this weekend for it. And then Yom Kippur, about 10 days later, is considered the Day of Atonement. That's when Jews fast. We go to temple all day and just basically have a miserable day of no food, but we can't wait to eat that night. And it's just how you put yourself through some suffering to make up for sins or people whose feelings you may have hurt for the year, and you promise to be a better person going forward in the new Jewish year. The Jewish New Year is Rosh Hashanah. That starts tomorrow night at about sundown, whatever sundown is, 7:15 on the East Coast and Northeast. So is there any truth to this? And does this actually work though? And Jeff Hirsch from the Stock Traders Almanac went through this, and I've met Jeff before. He's a really good guy, and he runs the Stock Traders Almanac. So let's just take a look at what he has to say about the statistics of this, okay? Market wisdom around trading in relation to Jewish holidays should hold up this year, according to the Stock Traders Almanac editor. Okay, sell Rosh Hashanah, buy Yom Kippur. It's a cute phrase. By the way, folks, I don't put any stock into this. I don't trade this. It's one of those rules of thumb that it maybe works just enough times to make you believe that it's always going to work, and then when it doesn't work, you get slammed. So it's not something, you know, it's not something that I get into. And I remember in '08 during the financial and market crisis, how bad the market was on Yom Kippur and the days following it. It definitely was not a time to work back then, and the market actually continued to go down until the following March of 2009. All right, so let's take a look. Sell Rosh Hashanah by Yom Kippur, saying refers to investors selling into the Jewish New Year and buying into the Day of Atonement. In other words, those Rosh Hashanah apples and honey may not be so sweet in investors' eyes. Okay, so since 1971, the Dow has lost an average of 0.5% between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Some say because a lot of market participants are Jewish and a lot of us go home for the week and don't work that week. I don't know. I don't know if that holds. I mean, most of the Jewish people I know, and I'm one of them, we go to work every day, and I don't know if maybe this could have been truer a long time ago. Okay. But the blue chip average, the Dow has gone on to gain an average of 6.9% between Yom Kippur and Passover, which is typically around spring break. Passover and Easter are typically right around the same time. So Passover, a holiday honoring the Hebrew liberation from slavery when the Egyptians enslaved the Jews thousands of years ago. This is likely to keep with tradition, Hirsch said. That's due in part to late seasonal weakness and quarterly options expiring. He added, Rosh Hashanah takes place this weekend. Yom Kippur is scheduled for later this month. Actually, Yom Kippur is Monday. It's the 24th evening of Sunday evening into the 25th on Monday. So Monday could be a quiet day, but because it's a weekday. But this year Rosh Hashanah starts tomorrow, so it shouldn't really interfere at all with market trading. It's basically a weekend event this time around. We'll see if it works. I'm curious to see if it works. It's a cute saying, and whatever. But you're going to hear that a lot, so now you know where it comes from and what it means. And other than that, I will not be doing the live stream tomorrow, as I typically don't do them Fridays unless something major happens in the market. And then I would jump on the live stream and give you a quick update. Have a great weekend, everybody, and stay safe. And Happy New Year to all who